afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast. Lehr with me, your host, Imperial Dane. The topic of today, the US Captain. Yes, indeed, the Captain, available from the company command post. Initially for about 200 fuel and I think about 200 manpower, 70 fuel, and then afterwards for 320 fuel manpower. Oh, good lord. If you lose him, bit my apologies, I was trying to say too much at one time, which can occasionally cause a bit of a mess up. A 5-man unit, like pretty much most other things the Americans have. A bit uniquely equipped with a mix of Garands, 1 Thompson submachine gun, which is reasonably powerful, and 2 bazookas. Meaning the Captain overall does reasonably well in the light anti-tank department, can reasonably deal with vehicles, and help versus armor. He can also, thanks to the submachine gun, actually do reasonably alright out close versus some infantry units, versus others, though he's not going to exactly go very well. But reasonably well, a good handled Captain is generally a good asset. In your fight against the enemy, he starts out, for example, here with the supervisor ability, which can basically be used to speed up production of any unit which basically decides to supervise the building. On that regard, you know, he's a bit of a carry-on from the old Lieutenant the Wehrmacht had. Though, of course, he does provide a lot more combat effectiveness, so generally you don't see him so much hang back there. But, for example, you want a Sherman tank or something else, like, say, a Stuart or an anti-tank gun or pack house out faster. I mean, the Captain's your guy, and generally the higher veterans he has, the better it becomes overall. So in that regard, already there, the Captain does possess several sort of capabilities in the fight against the Krauts, the Nazis. And of course, with this 5-man squad size, he's also reasonably durable. And of course, again, the bazookas generally makes him not bad overall to have. I mean, he's not going to, for example, single-handedly start a tank, but he's definitely going to cause German army to at least think a bit about it. And in particular, light vehicles will be forced to be rather cautious about this gentleman and his friends. Though, of course, note the bazookas can be dropped if they suffer enough casualties, so that's to be careful with. I mean, you could, for example, end up, if you're being really silly, handing over 2 bazookas to your opponent, so that is rather vital to keep in mind while using the Captain. Also note, he gains veterancy from nearby allies, so basically just having him in a fight will generally give you a bit of good there as well, and allow him to sort of get those bonuses, which is overall quite nice. I mean, he becomes tougher, does more damage, and then veterancy free, for example, I mean, he begins sprinting around on his own, which overall also makes him quite good if, for example, quickly moving from point to point, or quickly flank a vehicle or tank if you spot a chance. He also has a rather unique ability that's called On Me. Basically, nearby infantry, even if it's suppressed, will basically run towards him and it will get buffed. The Captain himself will not gain any of the benefits of the buff, though. He will just remain as he is. Just being that. But generally, I mean, in that way, he can be used to, for example, quickly turn the situation around. For example, you're looking close to be overwhelmed, your force might be a bit spread out, suppressed, you pop On Me, all of a sudden they're using nearby, and all of a sudden they do a bit more damage and actually force your opponent to be a lot more cautious. In fact, you might even wipe a squad or 2 if he's not careful. Though, of course, at the same time, you also have to be careful if you do it, because you can very much risk if your opponent has a lot of high explosive weapons, you basically end up creating one very big, fat target. So, it's a bit of a double-edged blade. Though, mind you, that also makes your troops a bit harder to kill, but again, you know, if your opponent has a lot of artillery, you don't want to do that, because then you're pretty much just telling your opponent, "Hey, Hans, I dare you to artillery me." And in most cases, the Germans are pretty much good on picking up on that. So be very mindful of that. Otherwise, again, you will find your Captain and all of his friends very much getting pulped. And of course, the Germans around the Captain, of course, I mean, he also serves as another indicator. In particular, if he's the first sort of officer you see, I mean, he does also tell you where your opponent is in terms of teching. I mean, if you see the Captain first before the Lieutenant, you also know, oh, right, I should probably be expecting anti-tank guns, a pack houses, Stuart light tank, most likely. I mean, your opponent could sort of try and sort of pull a bit of a quick Lieutenant afterwards or something like that, but that's a bit rarer. I mean, you can also just get the Captain to say just have a decent anti-tank unit, well, then you might go for something else. I mean, some players do it, but generally, I mean, the Captain tells you your opponent has gone for the company command post. Of course, there's also something you need to be aware of as the Americans. I mean, once you do that, I mean, you might lose a bit of an edge there. And right here, of course, I mean, you know, versus his doing Pioneer unit. I mean, he's not exactly going to, you know, win the war single-handedly. In this case, as warned, he did drop a bazooka, not a Panzerich, but a bazooka. So, I mean, I think that rather covers the exploits of our good friend, the captain. I mean, again, he's a bit of a mixed weapon squad. They're a bit rarer at the moment in the game, but again, you know, depends again versus you. If this is a full-scale squad, he can win up close. Storm Pioneers, I mean, he's just going to get massacred. So again, you know, being mindful of what unit you're fighting when you send in the captain. Otherwise, use bazookas to deal with light vehicles, use civil bikes if possible, and use on the occasion it's also to get a boost here and there. But beyond that, I mean, there's not a lot else to sort of say about the captain. He does not possess any sort of further unique abilities about that, or sort of any further neat tricks with him. He's got bazookas, you know, use them to pop a few rockets into tanks and light vehicles, though again, don't expect him to single-handedly hold down a Tiger. The Tiger crew's not going to get impressed. So, hopefully, with this, you'll have a slightly clearer idea of the captain, how to use him, how not to use him, as our friends the Storm Pioneers here aptly demonstrated, most willingly, perhaps a bit menacingly. And of course, you know, understanding a bit more his abilities, and again, you try to use that on me ability from time to time. You will occasionally be quite positively surprised, and your opponent less positively surprised. So hopefully you will have now a bit of better understanding there, and hopefully will be more fitted for future battlefields. This is Imperial Dancing. Cheers, and thank you all for watching.